This is the famous antique classic 1943 Stearman, manufactured by Boeing in 1936. The Stearman was designed to train thousands of American pilots during World War II. I brought my video camera to capture our flight at Gillespie Field. You can tell pilot Bob Simon has a passion for flying. He rebuilt the Stearman from scratch.
And during the war years, between 1937 and 1945, they built these as trainers, as a primary trainer for pilots that were learning how to fly. And they built approximately 9,800 of these airplanes, plus another number of parts. So essentially, they have about 10,000.
Bob tells me out of those 10,000 Stearmans, there are only about 600 left in the world. Bob says it took him 14 years to restore his Stearman. The plane was originally blue and yellow, but Bob went for a magnificent red tone instead.
When the engine is running, all these tubes fill up with oil to keep the push rods covered.
Before taking to the sky, Bob typically checks the oil, fuel, and other items on his checklist to make sure everything is ready. He also gives me a preview of what to expect and quickly makes me part of the crew.
Here, you can grab right on here to pull yourself up. There are handholds up here, so you can grab onto here. On the radio, when you press this switch that way, you're talking to me. And these will go on. Well, you'll have to hook it on the back here, on the back side of your head, and kind of stretch it out.
The Stearman has many sentimental attachments for Bob. He was a U.S. Navy pilot. The Stearman was not around when Bob was flying for the Navy, but the passion for the biplane and flying is certainly still there.
Well, you know, I've flown my entire life. I've been flying for 50 years now. I started in 1960 in the Navy. I joined the Navy and learned how to fly there. And when I joined the Navy, these airplanes were long gone. So they were flying what they call an SNJ, which had a 600-horse engine on it.
The Stearman Division designed the famous biplane under United Aircraft, which owned Boeing and United Airlines. The warplane was first known as Design X-70, then officially as Boeing Model 75. But it's probably best known as the Stearman. The very first one was sold to the U.S. Army Air Corps in 1936. Once the Army purchased the two-seater, the name would change again to PT-13 and PT-17s. It became an unexpected success. With World War II on the horizon, more than 3,500 were delivered by 1940 alone.
When they use these airplanes, I've always had that interest in aviation. This became kind of like a hobby, like any kid that loves aviation wants to build a model airplane. And so I wanted to build, except I was going to do it full scale. And so this is a full scale model airplane.
Almost every American pilot undertook basic training in a Stearman during the war. The biplane became so reliable and popular, many more were built and sold to Canada, Britain, and other countries. The rugged airplane reaches speeds of 125 miles an hour. To my surprise, Bob tells me the plane's wings are mostly covered in fabric, and so is the plane's framework.
I rebuilt it reminiscent of the sport airplanes of the 30s. So I made a number of changes, the first one being the engine on here. So I have double the horsepower on this airplane.
Oh, that's
so
exciting.
I have 450 horsepower on this airplane. It's a Pratt & Whitney engine. And then I have wheel pants on it. That's different. And, of course, the color is different from the war airplanes.
Besides flying, Bob is fascinated with teaching others about antique classic planes like his Stearman. He's also part of Air Group 1, where he and other volunteers educate the public by flying at air shows around the country.
Air Group 1 is part of the Commemorative Air Force, and this is our hangar right here. I happen to be the wing leader of Air Group 1. We've been commissioned to maintain, fly, take to air shows, and keep in flying condition 159 different airplanes, so from the war years.
Bob's dedication to education goes a long way. He had just wrapped up 3 days at Miramar Air Show when we caught up with him. He went out of his way to show us what a magnificent machine the Stearman really is.
And educate the public and keep in mind that the sacrifices that the people in World War II made and the part that military aviation played to ensure us of our freedoms today. So this L-5 was a forward observation airplane. We're working on the wings right now. Most of the wings are in the back, laid off on a table over there. We're going to put those together and get that in flying condition.
Although he spent years restoring and rebuilding his biplane, Bob knows the two-seater is only temporarily in his care.
Kind of the caretaker of this airplane. You know, hopefully I can get somebody interested enough to take it over. Maybe my grandson, if I can get him interested in flying. He loves it so far. He's been up with me. He's 9 years old. He's been in the airplane around the pattern, and with a big smile in the mirror and a big thumbs up.
And that's a big thumbs up from the KPBS crew. Thanks, Bob, to you and the other volunteers from Squadron 1, and for your love of flying and aviation history. The flying experience was just wonderful. Thanks for watching.